everybody? Happy Friday to you all. Spirit of 420 here because everything I do is, well, it's just so damn 420. Everyday blues. I didn't know what else to name it, So let's start. Let's start from the beginning. There was man and woman. No, kind of back it up a little bit. What I mean by that is the last 2 days, believe it or not, I know I don't have a big smile on my face, but smiling does not always indicate happiness. Number one, smiling does not always, you can't, it's the same old adage. You can't judge a book by its cover. Just because somebody is smiling or not does not mean they are happy or not. Okay. I'm actually had, yesterday was probably the best day I'd had since early October. And today was right there with it. I had some issues, but I mean, we deal with issues. Now, even though I've had great days, the great days have come because I've got up off my ass. Right? We have to do that. Sometimes we fall down. Right? One of the things that makes us different and makes us so unique as humans is the fact that we get back up. We just keep getting back up. Sometimes we may stay down for a little while, right? And sometimes it's not necessarily the case. Sometimes you get right back up. It just really depends on, I think, all the circumstances of the situation, because it depends on yourself, right? It also depends on what you went through. And moreover, how damaging was, which comes back to what did you go through. I think certain things just take more time naturally to get over. Grief is definitely one of those. Loss in general, because grief doesn't always come from it doesn't always come from necessarily death, right? You can also have grief from a lost friendship or a lost relationship, like love of my life left me, that's grief. Loss is loss, in my opinion. It doesn't matter how you lost it. Mourning, I would put that word associated with purely death, right? You do that when somebody close to you has died. That's what you do. Now, does that mean that you dwell on it? No, you can't dwell on any of these things because they will take you down. Which is why I said the last 2 days, they really have, I've even texted multiple friends and let them know, had 2 great days. Here, I'll smile, make it better. I've had 2 great days. I've been very happy. Most of the happiness has come from the fact that I've been productive. Part of what happens when you're in depression, and anybody out there who's been through one or going through one knows exactly what I'm talking about. When you are depressed, many times you get to a place where you don't do anything, and then shit starts to build up. Then it becomes even harder to do anything because now you're overwhelmed. Oh, I have so much to do. And the it's not a woe is me. It truly is. You've let so much go by and not get done that now you have an insurmountable amount of tasks in front of you, and you're like, oh shit, right? But the only way to get out of that is just doing one at a time. It's just one task at a time, one day at a time, and you'll get there. I know this from experience. I always do. It always works out. And as I've been saying lately, the one time that it's not going to work out, the one time it doesn't work out is when God has thrown me more than I can handle. And that means I'm dead. And I really don't have any fucking thing to worry about anymore. My whole goal at this point is to make sure that what I do with my time left matters. And that's why I called it Everyday Blues today, because I've told a couple people, and I don't want to bitch, but the vast majority. So, I mean, I don't want to bitch, and I'm not trying to bitch. I'm going over it, and then I'm going to put my positive spin on it like I always do. But the vast majority of folks, from what I have seen and what I've experienced, they don't do anything without a purpose. Okay. And what I mean by that is, if to me, the concept of pay it forward, if you will, is one, in my personal opinion, is one of those concepts that I truly love, because it's not about recognition. Now, unfortunately, some people do make it about that. What's supposed to happen when you pay it forward is you tell that person, hey, please pay it forward. And now they, in turn, need to do, technically speaking, if you're going by the concept that was actually drawn out, you have 3 tasks, and you need to randomly help somebody out who needs it 3 times and ask them to pay it forward. Hence the forward motion. It has nothing to do with who you are. It has nothing to do with, put it in the newspaper, or it's supposed to be just, when you say pay it forward, that way the person on the other end understands, okay, this is a pay it forward situation, and I need to do the same thing. If you announce it, right? If you're out there announcing it, or you're out there announcing any of your good tasks, and number one, I don't mean any harm. Like, please keep doing them, okay? Please. Always been a very struggle for me, and when I do, I reap the benefits. Yes. My issue is, if you're gonna be nice, if you're gonna do nice things, do it just to be nice. Do it for the reward of seeing their face, whoever that might be, whether it's helping an old lady across the street, or, giving a few bucks to somebody. I'm not going to even sit here and tell you, I don't sit here. I try my best not to sit here and talk about the good things that I've done. Those are from those are for my life and my personal life. And what I mean by that is, I'm not here to brag about that, because that's not the fucking point, right? What I do here is tell stories, and hopefully I tell stories, and I give my opinion on things, right? I don't really have a story today, but if you go back and watch many of my shows, then you'll know there's a lot of stories. I've told many stories. That's how it started out. Things evolve, though, folks. I would love to tell you a story about doing something good, but then, in my opinion, I would literally be contradicting what I'm sitting here saying, because it's not about telling someone else. It's funny. One of those, I still watch Seinfeld, like, background. I don't know if anybody does, but I'm old, right? And so Seinfeld, which, by the way, Seinfeld's like 35 fucking years. It came out in 89, y'all. 89. That fucking show is literally 35 years old. But it still speaks volumes, okay? And I was watching it, and this is kind of where this started, by the way, because the Calzone episode was on. Now, for those of you who don't know Seinfeld, I'm going to make it a really quick thing. The Calzone, that's what the episode was called. By the way, every episode was the and something, right? The something. This one was the Calzone. Simple thing is that George had to get calzones. He got his boss hooked on him. Steinbrenner got Steinbrenner hooked on calzones, so he had to buy calzones every day. And not only was that an issue, but when he went in there, he gave the guy a tip, but the guy didn't see it, right? Now, I'm sure y'all have been there. There's a part of us, right, that gets really, we almost get offended that they didn't see it. That's not what it's about. It's not about whether or not the guy saw it. It's about, did you do him right? Karma doesn't give a fuck if you did a news article on it, or if you posted about it, or if somebody acknowledged it at all, that's karma doesn't care about that. I'm just telling you, karma truly only cares about why you did it. The fact that you did it first, and then why did you do it? And that's the thing, I see so much. I wrote to a friend of mine today, and I'm truly an optimistic person. I truly am. If I wasn't, then I wouldn't keep going. I would give up. If I was not optimistic, then I would give up. However, I still see the facts and speak about them as I see them. I cannot verify some of the numbers, but I can tell you my own personal experience has been the vast majority of the people that I meet and deal with are wolves in sheeple clothes, even more than sheeple themselves. There's more wolves in sheeple clothes that I've seen than there are just sheeple. And I know some people are probably offended that I even use the word sheeple. I apologize if it offends you, but it is what it is. When I go out there and I drive, I wonder, am I the only one? By the way, let me give you an example of sheeple just real quick. I'm going to go off on a tangent. And then I'll come back to counting sheeple at night when I'm a wolf or whatever. You're out there driving, and I'm curious if I'm alone. If you don't want to answer, that's fine. I don't care. What's up, bro? How you doing? Nice to see you, Beast. Why, when there's 3 lanes of traffic, I have two. I want to pose 2 questions here. If sheeple don't exist, then explain this to me. You're in a 3-lane road. The speed limit is 60 miles an hour. The lights, this is this is a highway, and where there are lights, they're like a couple miles apart. All right. What I see out there doesn't make sense to me, because everybody that wants to turn left, right, at 2 lights ahead, and I'm not making that up, so 4 miles up, piles into the left lane at the current light, so that the left lane is just 50 fucking cars, and there's maybe 10 in the middle lane and just a couple in the right. Am I the only one that goes, I'm going to get over here because there's 2 reasons. Why am I going to get, and when I say get over here, I'm going to get over to the right-hand lane, right? I'm going to get over to the empty lane. Number 1, I'm dispersing cars better. If you have a more dispersed flow of traffic, you will get there quicker. Why? If you have a line, it's just simple physics, y'all. When this guy starts, number 50 back here won't even start until the lights turned green or turned red again, right? So it only makes sense to equal out the line and then migrate over maybe the next light. But honestly, when you have 2 miles, the next light is more than sufficient. There's no reason to pile up like that. Here's the other thing. That left lane, I told you there was 2 parts to it. When you have 3 lanes, I don't know if y'all remember taking this on your test, but why are there 3 lanes? Not just to give us 3 lanes of traffic, which is what the common person, I believe, thinks. They do not understand the 3 lanes, right? They don't understand multiple lanes, because this works. Once you have 2 lanes, this is how it works. Slower moving traffic on the right, faster moving traffic on the left. The more lanes you have, the faster the traffic on that left lane will tend to get. Funny enough, though, even when the speed limit goes up, the slow ones still go slow. The really slow ones. So my other issue that I have is that you're piling up in a lane, and then you do not. I told you 60 miles per hour. If you're in the left-hand lane, quite frankly, anything less than 65 is not expected in that lane. You're expected to be going at least the speed limit, but more like 5 miles over. And when I say this, I'm saying it because that's all traffic. That's everybody, right? And what I mean by that is when I say everybody, I'm not saying everybody chooses to go 5 miles over, but the vast majority, and that's what a cop is looking at. Most people are doing 5, 10, even higher, but most people are doing 5 to 10 miles per hour faster than the speed limit. So when you're over here and you're not even doing the speed limit, and you're doing it just to get into this lane early and stay there. If y'all don't understand what I mean by sheeple, that's a sign of a sheeple, then you might be a sheep yourself. I'm sorry, don't mean to be rude to you, don't want to hurt your feelings, but if you think that that's the appropriate way to drive, the whole point of it is not to have 3 lanes so that we can have 3 cars equally going the same speed limit, by the way, which, oh my God, irks me. Whether you like to go fast or not, or whether you like to undo your cruise control button, if you find yourself in that position where you and the other 2 cars, no matter which one you are, right? You and the other 2 cars are all doing the same speed, either speed up or slow down. Don't be a dick to the rest of us. Like, here's the thing. I don't tell you how fast you can go, but you shouldn't tell me. And if I'm going faster than what you're comfortable with, but I'm doing it in the safest of ways, let me go by. Sad enough, many times when you have these blockades, I call them regulators. I call them regulators. When you have these regulators, 9 times out of 10, they're not going the speed limit. Just so you know. Oh my God, if you could hear, did that come through? I wonder if that came through. I get it, man. Hopefully everything is okay. So there's my example of sheeple. Now, I want to come back to why. I don't want to get religious, so I'm trying to think of somebody that's not religious. I mean, they're all everybody has a religion, if you will. Well, you know what? I'm gonna leave it to you. Think about leaders of the past, okay? Not current day leaders, because there's a difference, and it's amazing how much the differences are, okay? But think about leaders of the past who led, simply put, they led by action. Now, when you're a leader, right? They're going to talk about you. There's going to be stories. But you can tell the difference, in my opinion, between a good leader and a poor leader, because a good leader just keeps doing things and does what they say, practices what they preach, right? And doesn't live on their, what's the word I'm looking for here? Past accolades, right? And they don't continue to bring them up. I did this, I did that, right? A good leader just keeps leading. And in my opinion, what makes a great leader, if you will, is one that is kind and fair, yet firm and swift. Okay. If you are a leader and you're doing it for the right reasons, in my opinion, and you're leading, again, you just do, and you talk about something and you do it and you help make it happen, right? But you don't spend your time, once you get that, you celebrate. I'm not saying don't celebrate, folks. I'm not saying don't enjoy a moment, right, that you have earned because your hard work. Hell, even if it's helping somebody, which many times the leaders of the world are, something that they're doing is helping a lot of people many times, right? If you have managed to get something done that's helping a bunch of people, celebrate it. For lack of a better term, I wouldn't say, bask in its glory, but enjoy the moment. But then the next day you get up and you either continue on with that project or start something new, right? It's either a win and you're moving on, or it's a win and that's over and it's time to find a new project. And teach, and always remain coachable. I know some people would disagree with that because they feel like if they're a leader, then they really have nothing left to learn. They're leading. Again, just one man's humble opinion. I feel like a good leader is going to lead by example, right? That's an easy one. But they're going to learn as much from the people they're leading as they learn from you. I've said it before, but the day that you stop learning is the day that you start dying. And if you're not learning anything, you will cease to. And I know people will argue, that's fine, but think about this: you're learning every day still, most of us, right? Anytime there's a change, you have to learn something new. You have to go with that change and learn something new every time. And there's change in every single day. Some people will try to avoid change as much as possible. I get that. I personally have gotten to the point where I thrive on change, but there's times when I've noticed, like we're habitual people. So if some of you may be like this, as much as I thrive on the change, it's not always what I want, right? Sometimes I don't want it. And I'll say sometimes, because many times, more times than not, I like the change. It's something good, because that's typically what I find change being, is generally it's good. But when it's not, you have to deal with it. For instance, like if you got fired, right? That's a bad change. And you have to learn a whole new way of life, right? Maybe it's time to go to the unemployment office now and start doing that until you find a job. Whatever the case may be, you do what you got to do, all right? I truly pray. I pray that people start to come back around to, because before there was social media, before there was news that was in your face and to the minute, you just did. I mean, at best, you might get some word of mouth in your local town, right? But before it was all of this, and I know some people like, well, now you're going back, way too far. I'm not going back too far for the actions, right? It's not that same way. In fact, today, if you do something nice, there's a good chance that someone may catch it or say something about it on social media or in the news. Like, there's a good chance that might happen. Okay. That's not, I believe, why to do it, but that could happen. But if you do it simply to help somebody and be nice, and for the reward for that, all I can tell you is you will enjoy it. Because back in the day, before there was all this, people were just kind and helpful. Because yes, there's always a bad element, folks. I don't live in a delusional world where I think there wasn't bad ever, right? But let me give you just a quick example. Okay. Back in the day when let's just go back to when the West was young and it was still being tamed, and half of that territory out there wasn't even statehood yet, right? You had wrestlers. Everybody knew it. There was two things mainly when you were heading out: is you had claim jumpers, right? Claim jumpers and wrestlers, and then you did have Native Americans who were fighting for their own land. I'm not going to say that their attacks Some of them were brutal, and some of them, well, they were all brutal. Let me say this: some Native Americans, I feel like, were doing it for the right reasons, and some weren't. That's all there is to it. I'm not going to get into a debate, but some were just mean to be mean, just like there's mean people, right? My point is, even though there was no meanness, they still took a chance because odds were they weren't going to run into them. There was the chance for it, and you had to be prepared, but it was greater odds, even if it was only by, like 55 to 45, it was greater odds that you would go out without incident. It got to the point where that wasn't the case. But that's because, and you have to look at it, the few bad ones just kept repeating it. It wasn't like there was a ton of bad. They were just doing it every single day to new people. Okay. When you look at today and you try to compare it, you really can't because of the vast difference in numbers. Excuse me. Back then, first of all, for territory, towns were made up of a couple hundred people. It wasn't what it is today. Towns now, your average town is made up of a couple 100,000. You are going to, and that's something that we just learned as we grew. This isn't new information, and some people could be like, duh, we know that. But the more people you have, the more bad element you have. But see, what you got to realize is that bad element still grows. I believe now we have gotten to the point where it is no longer at a balance, because it only takes a little bit of evil to fuck up a whole situation. If you pay attention, that's part of what I'm talking about, right? 75 people come through every day, right? Just quick numbers. I'm only making it up. And these 5 guys robbed 50 of them. All right. 5 guys robbed 50. Nowadays, though, nowadays, I say this because I lived on the dark side, right? I was a criminal. I was a drug dealer. It even shocked me, and that was in the 90s. So remember what I'm talking about right now. Just this, what shocked me was, even in the 90s, how many of us there were. When we were riding around, I just remember, like, wow, there's so many people that are working daily, and they don't know how many of us drug dealers and hustlers are out there. That's our day, to be criminals. And it has only grown, folks. And I'm not, here's the funny thing. You're going to think this is funny. There are some criminals out there that I have no problem with, because morally everything they do is in my opinion, on target. There's some, right? And I know some people are like, well, if you're a criminal, then you're already crossing the line. I've been a criminal, and I don't believe in that, because I believe, there are some laws that should not be in the books. They just shouldn't be in there. There's still laws that shouldn't be in the books, by the way, that just have been there forever, and nobody takes them out, right? We all know that. But there's some laws that, don't work. I mean, for instance, cannabis being illegal in this day and age is absolutely a bad law. And I agree with anybody who is out there trying to get their cannabis for medication or help other people get their medication, because it does. It helps, right? But most, just coming back to it, I have found that most of the people, because, when I lived that life, I would get to know these people, and the vast majority of them were really shitty people. Like, they didn't care. They would just assume make a buck on me and throw me under the bus and move on than to ever see me again. I mean, they were willing. I can't tell you how much the burning of bridges was considered okay in that world. Because I always, there was a lot of us that were good, okay, but I'm telling you, the vast majority wasn't. The ones of us that were honorable, I would say, literally practiced that honor amongst thieves. There were unwritten rules that you knew. I'm not going to sit here and bore you with all of them. I'm just going to say one of them was, You didn't fuck another person over, particularly somebody who you're working with, just to make a higher dollar bill, whether it be that job or altogether. And you definitely don't turn them in. There's no narking. Those are just two easy ones, right? I say that, but hear this. If you're in the dealing business or even a criminal of any kind, everybody knows this little saying: loose lips, bad relationships. That's how you get busted. And I'm not trying to teach a seminar on how not to get busted. My point, if you will, is that it is somebody else 9 times out of 10 that fucks you and gets you caught, right? You can no longer, and I'm just telling you, it didn't used to be like that, folks. The reason there was that saying, honor amongst thieves, was that used to have, like back in the days of the original pirates, like it was just, it's a different world. It is so dog eat dog. And there it is. Let me wrap the whole show up with that. My everyday blues today is the dog eat dog world that I live in, regardless of how much good I do, regardless of how much love and positivity I spread. It's not going to get, that's not going to get to be any different. Can it get better because of me? Can I work that hard? If I didn't believe there was a chance, then I wouldn't fucking do it. Right? There is 6 degrees of separation. So if I continue to work the rest of my life, then maybe I will help because someone else will help and someone else will help. And what ends up happening, someone who's, 5 times more popular than me starts to help. And then you have a real movement. And what I'll say as far as a movement, what I would love to see, what I would love to create is a atmosphere that is not political based, not religious based, not race based, not sexual orientation based. In fact, its basis would be that you do not declare that, right? That doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters is, would you like to help out the world and not worry about getting a fucking single thing back? Is that something that you would like to do? Me, I have found that it is. Does it make it difficult? Yes. I even though these last 2 days were good, I've been in a depression for the last 6 months, and part of that depression, I am absolutely 100% telling you, yes, Sky helped, but that's been, we're going on 14 months, or excuse me, 16 months. What it was, as I told a lot of people, that was icing on the cake of my depression, because what it really was is the state of the world. And some people may be like, well, what does that even fucking matter to you, dude? Because it didn't matter to me when I was 20, barely mattered to me when I was 30, started mattering to me at 40. And then it became apparent that that is part of what life is about, is giving a fucking shit about this world, about someone other than yourself. If you care enough, I love watching the stories of people, because I'm not telling you that there's not good people out there. There's a lot of good people. I'm just telling you right now that numbers are, let's just say, what used to be more like 100 to 1, like 100 great people to 1 piece of shit. It's probably closer to like, and you feel it, but it's closer to like 1 to 1, right? It's gotten down to where it's like almost equal. When you have that much shittiness and selfishness, it's overwhelming to the balance. There's a reason that the balance is, there's a reason that we say it. It only takes one bad apple, right? That little bit of negativity and that little bit of, I don't know how else to say it other than just pure evil. It's like it's concentrated in comparison to good. And here's why. It's much more difficult to live a righteous life. It is. It takes more work, and you have to, how do I say? You really have to eat some shit sometimes to go the high road. Whereas if you're not going the high road, and I know this from experience, again, folks, I know this, it is simple. You're just a dick. You get what you want. You fuck people over. All I can tell you is you don't have to worry about anybody but yourself. How fucking easy is that? And that's why the other cliche saying, right? It is easier to destroy than it is to create. It absolutely is. I've been there. So all I can tell you is this. It's funny. What got me back on my feet? My son Skylar before, probably like a year and a half. No, sorry. Duh. Probably about a year and a half before his death, sent me a song called The Solution. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. I'll have to look up later and I'll talk about it next time. But the simplest of terms, the reason he sent it to me, it was a song about a saying that I consistently drilled into my boys, and that is, if you're not the problem, there is no solution. It's a great saying, and it truly tells you a few things. Number one, it's not negative. A lot of people take it negative. That means everything's your fault. No, it doesn't. You're hearing it wrong. What it means is you have control over your life. Nobody else does, only you do. So if there's a problem, it's always in your power to fix it. You always will have the solution. Okay? You just have to look for it. Anyway, I got down on my knees yesterday in the morning and prayed to God to just, because I pray all the time, but I mean, I got like physically down and humbled myself, right? And I don't always necessarily do that. I'm on the go and da-da-da. Sorry, I have somebody coming over here in a little bit, so I got to make sure I don't go past time. So I got down on my knees, asked for help, and literally, one of the reasons that I love listening to Spotify rather than the radio station, or even Pandora, whatever you're, Apple Music, whatever the fuck you do, Amazon, doesn't matter. They're all work very similarly. And what I mean by that is they're random. It's going to be maybe a genre that you've picked. For me, it's even more than that, because as I pick songs, I put them into my playlist. I've now got like 3,600 and I just hit random. Okay. So I do not believe in coincidences. And immediately after praying, the very next song, which I had no idea was that song. And that song it hits home. I'm not going to go through all the lyrics, but one of the things that even hits home, and I'm assuming it's one of the reasons this guy was like, you got to listen to the song, is not only is it about that saying, right? But the guy clearly, either him or somebody close, but I gather it's him based on the lyrics, was born in 1972, same year as I was born. That smacks me. That's not, I know some of y'all like that's just coincidence, but I do not believe in those. I do not believe in mistakes, nor do I believe in coincidences. When you talk about things, people love to talk about gambling. Well, when the odds are this high that it shouldn't happen, but it does, I definitely don't believe that's a coincidence. And I know people want to play that off as luck, whatever. Call it luck. I call it what you're supposed to be doing. So it was literally that song, and I won't bore you, but a couple other things that literally, like, boom, 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 signs that I knew not only was God answering me, but Sky as well. And that's all it took. To wrap it up, no matter how shitty this world is, no matter how many sheeple there are, no matter how many wolves there are that are dressing like sheeple, right? None of that matters if you're doing it. Let me start over. Regardless of all those people, if you love yourself and you love your family and you care about your friends and your family and you're trying to help them in every way you can and even help strangers, it's none of that matters, you know. And one day I'm going to die. I might even die because some dickhead, you know, shoots me, runs me off the road, whatever. I mean, I may end up getting killed. I say that because I used to face that reality when I was a drug dealer. I was like, you know, man, I didn't think I was going to make 21. Then I didn't think I was going to make 25. Long story short, which is impossible with me. The signs told me that, hey, go back to remembering this. No matter how bad it's gotten, no matter how shitty it's gotten, no matter how many dickheads there are in the world, no matter how many assholes there are fucking with you or fucking with your family, if you truly have, this is key, but you got to have faith. You got to believe. If you believe that it's going to be okay, then it will be. And here's the reality. Anybody who doubts that, even the ones that don't have faith, it's been okay up until now. 100% of the time. Think about that. Every time it got dark, every time it got gloomy, every time there was something horrible, horrible news that just destroyed your day, destroyed your world, destroyed everything, you're still here. You always get through. This too shall pass. And all you can do is look back. What I want to do is look back, and no matter what I did, because I don't care about the shit that I did when I was a kid, number one. When I say look back, I want to be able to look back and know that I spent the remainder of my time trying to help people, trying to show people a better life. I have said it multiple times. I truly believe there is one single key to happiness, and that's simply loving yourself. So the more people I can help to love themselves and learn how to truly care about themselves more than hating themselves, which most people don't, by the way. That's why we're here. I'm not going to go into that. That's another stream. But the more people that I help, the better I feel. And that's all that fucking matters. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if I ever get recognition. You know, I maybe I'll end up being a guy who fucking does all this good, but you don't hear about it until fucking 2 decades past my death, right? Who gives a fuck? It's about me being able to say at the end of every day and at the end of my life, wow, I fucking helped a lot of people and that felt great. Didn't get money, didn't get recognition. It felt great. I hope y'all think about this over the weekend and just in the future, because, you know, speaking extremely, I guess the best word is earnestly, I have experienced no other feeling, and I've had a lot. You want to have conversations. I've had a lot of money. I've had a lot of women. I've had a lot of every fucking thing, materialistically and whatever the other word is, when it comes to this world. I haven't had it all. I'm not saying that Elon fucking dickhead. I'm just saying I've had almost everything a man could ask for. I can't even remember wanting anything more at that time. And none of that brought me the happiness and the joy that I have gotten from helping people. Even if it was like, sometimes all it takes is a simple, shooting them a text and being like, hey man, I hope you're doing okay. I pray you're doing okay. But if you're not, I'm here. Either way, have a blessed day. When I do that, I'll just give you a quick, for instance. I don't believe in coincidences. Every single time I do that to one of my friends, they're like, dude, I needed to hear that at that exact moment. Think about it. I love all you guys. Love all you folks. Because you're not all men. I love you folks. I hope you have a blessed weekend. I hope you have a lifted weekend. I hope you enjoy Super Bowl Sunday. I may do a Super Sunday stream, maybe I'll do a halftime stream. Either way, I know what I'll be doing for it. I'll be having a party here. I hope everybody ends up being with the ones they love and having a great time. It's almost like a mini holiday for us. Love all you folks. Have a great weekend. Let me get back over here to the right one. And please, please think about doing things just for the good feeling. It's the best. Peace.
I switch hit, I'm a strange fuck. Consist on ain't something I could say well. Throw my change into the wishing for a change well. Wish a day is swell life for the next come. And when the next come, pretend that it's the best one. Like I ain't even gonna try and say that to the next one.